What's up, man? What's crack-a-lacking out there, fight fans? Main man, made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing. What up to the fam? What up to everybody in Main Man, Made Man's boxing form? Much love, much love. Hey, man, so the thing is this. Look like the Ring Magazine and Turki Al Sheikh has done it again, fight fans, coming out with another really, really good matchup to let the boxing fans know that it is now official, that it is being announced. David Benavidez will be defending his WBC light heavyweight world title against Anthony Yarde as he makes his Riyadh season debut in November. Turki Al Sheikh has confirmed, fight fans. So as we all see, it looks as if that this fight is now going to get up off the ground. We've been hearing some rumors about this next matchup for my main man, David Benavidez. And we wasn't sure which direction he was going to go. There was talks of Anthony Yarde, and there was also talks of Callum Smith. So it looks like he's going to choose to go towards Anthony Yarde, man. And it looks like this is going to land on a Riyadh season card in November. So this is going back to Saudi Arabia. You do got to ask yourself whether or not this is going to be on the same card as possibly Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr., as we know that they're going to be on the Riyadh season card in November as well. So we'll see if this all kind of lines up. Now, my thing is, man, y'all know my preference was not for David Benavidez and Yarde to be on any other card aside from maybe Terrence Crawford and Canelo. I thought that the perfect fit for David Benavidez in his next fight would have been on the undercard of Crawford and Canelo. And if we could have got Bivol and Beterbiev's trilogy match also on that card, it would have just had a lot of storylines all lining up. Instead, the Ring Magazine, or should I say Turki Al Sheikh, has told everybody that on the undercard of Crawford and Canelo, he's going to be putting one fight in particular, Big Baby versus Big Baby, right? Jarrell Miller versus Jared Anderson. And we still are waiting for the names of the other two possible slots on that card, as he told us he want to see 4 fights on that card. And he's putting a lot of the younger unknown fighters who need more exposure on a preliminary card from what we understand. So I would have liked to see David Benavidez on that card. That way his next fight could have easily was being lined up, or momentum for possibly his next fight would have been lined up, because David, who's at 175 pounds now, well, we know he got one of the belts up there. And guess what? Well, if Yarde and Beterbiev, if Beterbiev and Bivol was going to square down, maybe he could have got the winner and possibly did an undisputed thing. Now, I am hearing that Dimitri Bivol may be having to drop another world title, because I think it's the WBO that just recently came out, and they're forcing a mandatory on Dimitri Bivol. So there may be one less title that's going to be involved in their situation. We'll see how it all plans out. We know that Bivol already vacated his WBC. That's why David got it. We know that the IBF was pressing upon him at once upon a time for a mandatory, in which the IBF granted an exception and allowed Bivol to go off and defend his title against Beterbiev for undisputed. But now it looks as if that things have changed. I don't know if it's the WBO. It could be the IBF. It could be the IBF. I got to go back and double check that, fight fans. But one of the belts that Dimitri Bivol has is now under threat due to a mandatory, and he just may drop that said title if Turki Al Sheikh don't want that fight. But anyway, man, so I thought that the fight between, my man David Benavidez, dog, I thought he would have belonged perfectly on that card. So if he ends up on a co-main event card, and especially if he's on the undercard of Haney and Brian Norman Jr., I'm sure David is not going to be too happy about that. Now, he was on the undercard at once upon a time of Gervonta Tank Davis, and clearly he did not like that position that he was in that situation. So I don't think that he would be any more happier if he is not headlining above Devin Haney and Brian Norman Jr. So we just going to have to wait and see how this all kind of get put together. Now, when it comes to this actual matchup, I see David Benavidez steamrolling Anthony Yarde. I mean, literally destroying Anthony Yarde. Don't forget, my man David is the destroyer of worlds. He's Destroyer David. Or David the Destroyer. That might got a better ring to it. Which say y'all, fight fans? David the Destroyer of worlds. And Anthony Yarde, well, brother, you're going to need more than a yard to contain the big dog of David Benavidez. You know what I mean? I like Yarde, man. I've always liked the Yarde, but I see Yarde as being more so of a good 4 or 5 round fighter, in my opinion. I think that Yarde, if he kicks it up in gear too much, stamina would become an issue. And to keep David Benavidez off of him, and we know that David is a pressure fighter, in order for Yarde to keep David off him, bro, like it's going to take him to really go deep into the bag, you know what I'm saying? And really his stamina is going to have to be intact. I see David leaving Anthony Yarde in the 6th or 7th round. To be real, I think by the time we get around 6 and 7, I think Yarde is going to have a lot of problems keeping David off him. David has a really, really good engine. He's at a more comfortable weight where he ain't crunching at the weight no more. So I just think that with the engine of David and his pressure, it's going to grind Yarde down to a halt. Yarde got really good boxing ability, decent power as well. But once again, he's a muscular kind of guy, and I think that stamina is always going to be one of his issues that he's just going to have to battle with throughout of his career. He's going to have to be more intelligent in his activity, and you know what I'm saying, in fights. But my thing is, if you stand there too stationary, or if you try to become too defensive against a David Benavidez, eventually he's going to start breaking you down and breaking through. So I just don't think that Yarde is going to want to, let so much rounds go without him having to institute some sort of movement, defense, or even institute some offense. And I think that the more that he does, he's going to it's going to kind of work against him. If he doesn't hurt David, it's going to kind of work against him, because each and every round is just he's going to be getting grounded down. David hits you upstairs, hits you downstairs. He's an octopus in the ring. Arms everywhere, fight fans. Arms everywhere. Tough fighter. Comes forward, tough chin, could take a punch. You know what I'm saying? Really good jab, really fast hands, combination style if he wants to. That's my main man, David Benavidez, whom I've been rocking with since day one. I love to see all of my guys when they pan out, man. You know what I mean? Real spill, man. So I see, honestly, David steamrolling Yarde. I think Yarde puts up a maybe somewhat of an interesting fight early on in the fight, but I think it's that, like I said, as every round ticks by, it's just going to be the undoing of Anthony Yarde. You know what I'm saying? And I think David Benavidez stops Yarde. So, but I think it's, it's a decent matchup. It's really something good for David to do in the meantime, between time, until he get his next really blockbuster fight, whether it be Canelo or whether it be the winner of Beterbiev and Bivens trilogy, whatever the case may be. But until that moment actually comes, this is something cool to do. Whether it had been Yarde or whether it had been Callum Smith, I would have been cool with either way. You know what I'm saying? So either way, now I think another interesting layer about this is the fact that David is going over to Turki Al-Sheikh in Riyadh season. So we got another Premier Boxing Champions fighter, PBC fighter, heading over to Turkey. So once again, like Turkey said a week or so ago, he's working with PBC. Like he's every other card, he always got a couple PBC fighters on it. So, and now this is one of PBC's biggest names. The only other name on PBC soil that's bigger than David is Tank. That's it. So if Turki Al-Sheikh is getting David on loan, I think it's going to be a matter of time before he gets Tank, bro. I'm telling y'all, man. I'm telling y'all. It's just happening mainly because PBC and Top Rank, their roads are short. They don't have many ways to look right now. And Turkey is the man with all of the money. So it's almost like they kind of forced to deal with him. And that's probably what Turkey was, trying to do from the moment he kind of got into the sport of boxing. Played the process of elimination. You know what I'm saying? Got involved and let it be known, I'm the man with the money. Y'all gonna have to come and mess with me. And so here we are, man. All of the promoters, all of the outfits in one way or another is working with Turki Al-Sheikh. And this is actually to a certain degree a good thing. I'm almost wondering, bro, like Turkey used to do these tournaments between these outfits. I would love to see a PBC Top Rank tournament, man. Let's get PBC more in the fold on that, man. They got some good name fighters. So I hope it all works out like that, man. And in David Benavidez's case particular, we know that he's already kind of been talking with Turkey behind the scenes. He's made pleas to Turkey on social media to get involved between him and Canelo. We know that David Benavidez came out a few weeks ago saying that that Turkey wanted him to fight in Alcatraz. And so, him and Turkey has been definitely talking. David has been to a couple Turkey shows, sitting in the audience. So, yeah, man, he's definitely been smoozing David Benavidez. And PBC, clearly they got to be on board with it. They got no choice. So, like I said before, bro, it's going to be a matter of time before I think that we're going to be having Gervonta Davis mess around and be on the Riyadh season card. What say y'all? So interesting matchup. We'll get the full details when everything, I guess, fully comes together. Right now, we know Riyadh season, so Saudi Arabia in November. We'll see if he's headlining or co-headlining or whatever the case may be, and exactly how the rest of the card is going to fill out. We will wait and see. I'm hoping for a last-minute adjustment though, and they say, hey, you know what? We're going to put this fight on Crawford and Canelo's card. Now that would be litty than a titty. Thumbs up on the way out. If you didn't hit it on the way in, share. Rock those bells. We get up real soon, fight fans, on the live stream. To the next video, man. Peace out.